Thank you. It's great to be here. Good afternoon. Well, it's afternoon here anyway. My name is Susanna. I'm a compulsive eater. I weigh and measure 3 meals a day off the grey sheet. I write them down and commit them to my sponsor. I eat nothing in between, and I eat what I say I'm going to eat, no matter what. And abstinence is the most important thing to me today. My abstinence date is the 15th of February 2020. So I've done really all of my abstinence in lockdown, and I've really got into the habit of doing nothing other than going to the shops and buying my food and then chopping it up and eating it. And it's been a huge weight off my mind, really, to just be able to focus on that. But right now, life is a bit full of no matter what's, and I'm really feeling it, the pinch. I think the first year of my abstinence was just about freedom from all that mental arithmetic that went on around my eating and my exercising. Um, I was always a big eater as a child, but very, very skinny. And I was often called dustbin at school, and that was fine. I always had seconds. Then when I was 16 or so, I discovered alcohol. So then I became an alcoholic and got sober from that. And then 21 years later, having spent the first 10 years of sobriety, I would say were just really, I just chugged along and I was very happy. But gradually the food crept back. And I got married, and that was really then all bets were off, and I started to become gradually more and more unhappy with my eating, until it really was ruling my life. I mean, I never got up into huge numbers. I think my highest weight might have been 230 pounds. I'm 5'11", so I carried it, but I just carried a great weight in my head as well. And the one thing I notice about the food is that what happens with my food happens in my life. So I was carrying weight on my body, and I was carrying weight in my head, and constantly doing the mental arithmetic and constantly just dissatisfied and unhappy with myself. I knew that what I was eating wasn't really good for me, but I couldn't be asked, or I didn't really know how to stop it. And like everybody else, there's endless different diets and attempts to restrict and exercise, and it was just getting impossible. And I could never do the same diet twice. It would work the first time, and then if I went back to it, I thought, oh, that one worked, I'll try that again. It didn't work. It's just like the alcoholic trying different ways of, taking a trip, not taking a trip, not drinking before such and such a time, only drinking it. So it was the same with the food. But what I noticed when I got into GreySheet, and really it was yoga that got me into GreySheet, because I really started doing a lot of yoga and really experiencing the mental, emotional, physical and spiritual elements of yoga, yin yoga I was doing. It was fantastic. And I just thought, I want to take this further, but I know I've really got to do more work on my head before I can take this any further. And GreySheet popped into my mind. I had been to OA meetings in 2011, and I remember a girl coming into an OA meeting one day, absolutely slagging off GreySheet. She had left GreySheet. She'd lost her abstinence because she'd had one item of non-abstinent fruit in between meals. And of course, she had gone back to day one, and she was furious. So my first experience of GreySheet was somebody slagging it off. But when push came to shove, actually it was GreySheet that I turned to. And I started listening to the recordings on YouTube, and eventually found meetings. And just as the whole Zoom thing was taking off, which was fantastic. So and what I'm finding again is just, what happens around the food happens in my life. So I put boundaries around my food, and what I realize is that I have no boundaries around my life. I'm a completely boundaryless person, and I'm starting to do some work around boundaries, and it's really painful, actually. I lack boundaries. I'm very compliant. I'm very, very fearful of angry men. That's something I've discovered in my recent step work. And my husband can get quite angry quite quickly. And I'm totally compliant around him, I realize. And today was another example of just, yeah, I notice it now, really. I notice it much more. You know, I'm trying to seek gratitude, I'm trying to seek humility, but actually what I feel most of all is guilt. I feel hugely guilty about everything. Um, this morning I was fretting because, you know, I mean, my father died in January. We're getting divorced. We're selling the house of my dreams. We're packing the house up. I've got a load of orchids that I feel guilty because I don't really look after them properly, even though they're always flowering and they look great. But today I was just fretting, thinking I can't bear to put them on the compost heap and just get rid of get rid of them, because it's not fair on the orchids. You know, they have a right to be alive. I'm feeling guilty about houseplants. This is pathological, but I notice it. You know, this is the thing about doing my steps work, is that I really notice that now. And I was sharing it with somebody else this morning on the phone, saying, this is pathological to feel guilty about not realizing the potential of an orchid. I mean, it's not a rare orchid. It's one of the ones you can buy at a supermarket or a garage, you know. So I need to do stuff around that. I suffered a lot with, I mean, other people in my family. My parents didn't really teach me about boundaries much. You know, I experienced a lot of uh, um, childhood emotional neglect, for one reason or another, although on the surface you wouldn't notice it, because, you know, I had a pony, for Christ's sake. You know, it wasn't as if I was wanting for stuff, but I was wanting for love, and I was trying to find that in all sorts of different ways. And waste, I feel terrible about wasting stuff, and there's a huge thing there for me about waste of potential. Um, I feel my mother has wasted her potential hugely as an artist, partly because I think she had issues herself, or she has issues herself. Um, I've got all her artwork in the attic. And of course, I've been packing that up and putting that into storage, wondering what I'm going to do with it. I've got a lot of her art framed and on the walls at home. It's great stuff, really great stuff. But she's an addict as well. Um, my father was an addict, although he wasn't a substance addict, really. He was a sort of stuff and shopping addict more than anything else, I think. But I feel I've wasted my potential as well. And I constantly go around thinking I could have been a better person. I could have been better than this. And you know, the ridiculous thing is, it's a bit like having the pony. I've had a really successful career. You know, I'm retired. I managed to retire in my early 50s, on a really good pension, and I'm not wanting for anything. I'm very happy, and I'm doing a bit of part-time work now, and that's absolutely great. But I feel so ashamed for not being a better person and not having lived up to my potential, not having lived up to my own expectations of what I feel I could have been, and it drives me insane. But do you know what? I wouldn't have any of this pain in my life, or any of these ideas or thoughts or insights or understandings about myself, if I hadn't first got those ideas and thoughts and insights and understanding about my addiction, and particularly about my food. So again, what happens around the food happens around my life. You just catch me at a particularly bad moment when I've had a lot of no matter what's this year. Um, the quad bike has died, which is really irritating because I had a really big job I wanted to do with it this afternoon, which I then had to do by hand. So I'm a bit tired, but you catch me at a transitional moment where I'm kind of, there's a lot of change going on, both internally and externally. And there's been a lot of no matter what's, and I'm just feeling at a bit of a low ebb. I wouldn't say I feel sorry for myself, but I can see the change needs to be made. And the lovely thing is that I remember a counsellor saying to me when I first got sober, she said, the thing is, Susanna, that in order for change to happen, you just need to be aware that change needs to happen. You don't actually have to do anything about it, except to share it with another person. And so that's why I'm kind of slightly abusing my qualification time to share this with you, because This is how I am today, I'm afraid. And I know we should be doing positive pitches on GreySheet, and my positive pitch on GreySheet is that's my, thank you, I see that,
Hi.
Stacey. My positive pitch on GreySheet is that it's just given me tremendous clarity about all the other crap in my head. Now I'm not stuffing it down with food. Now I'm not shutting myself up. I'm not shutting my feelings up with food. I have to feel the feelings and I have to think the thoughts, because I'm doing more prayer, I'm doing more meditation, I'm doing more yin yoga, and it's all coming out. It's like lancing a huge emotional abscess, and it's all coming out. And I'm afraid that you've got it this afternoon. But it's really cleansing, and I just, throughout all of this, I have not once thought, do you know what? I think I'll just go down the garage and buy a basket full of things that we don't eat. All through this, I have thought, do you know what? What's for supper? What have I got to take out of the freezer? What have I got to write on my shopping list? What have I got to prepare? What have I got to write down for my next meal? And there's that routine and that steadiness, that continuity and consistency about GreySheet, which I really, really love. And again, that's the other thing about how GreySheet applies to life in general so powerfully, is that continuity and consistency, that routine. All I've got to do for the rest of the day is prepare my evening meal, eat it, watch NCIS, and go to bed. And do you know what? It just fills me with such pleasure. I've got a sick lamb at the moment, and well, that makes me feel hugely guilty and hugely responsible. It's hugely responsible that the lamb is sick, because of course I immediately think I caused it. So the lamb may or may not survive. I'll feed the lamb. I'll do what I can, and I've got to stop feeling guilty and responsible about everything. It's actually very egotistical, I think, to feel guilty and responsible about everything. So I need to maybe do some work around that. But the beauty is, I can just keep my head clear by eating my food, and planning, preparing, and protecting my abstinence, because nothing is going to make it better. No amount of non-abstinent food is going to make any of this better. I've just got to get on and do the next thing that needs to be done, and say my step 3 prayer and say my step 7 prayer and list my character defects and ask for my character assets, and all will be revealed to me, and the God of my understanding moves in mysterious ways and often has a sense of humor that I don't immediately share or notice until afterwards. But I know that this pain that I'm experiencing at the moment is just a huge is another big steep learning curve, and I've just got to stick with it. And if I can just stay out of the addiction, stay out of the isolation, and stay in touch with GreySheet, stay in touch with AA, stay in touch with my higher power, and just do the next thing that needs to be done, then I've got some chance of getting through this. And not only have I got a chance of getting through it, but I've actually got a chance of learning more each day, and coming out of this a better, stronger person. I'm actually quite excited for my future, even though I'm leaving the house of my dreams. It's going to be, thank you very much, Stacey, I see you. It's going to be exciting. I'm not going to have loads of responsibilities to other living things. I just have to make my bed and eat my food. It's going to be so simple. I'm quite excited to see what happens, really, when I haven't got all this, because this place where I am, this small holding, this little farm, it has in itself become a bit of an unhealthy obsession and compulsion, and it's got to go. Ditto my husband, lovely man, I'm sure, but it's not gonna help me deal with the rest of my life. So it's got to go. So we're having a big clear out, people, places, and things. And I'm just so happy to be here this afternoon. And thank you very much for letting me whinge on for 15 minutes, and but it's great to be here, and I'm so grateful to GreySheet for just, oh, I can't describe. I'm so grateful. Thank you.